Welcome, Lewis. We've got another episode today, haven't we?
We have.
And well, first of many, return of season 3. We have potentially maybe done some recordings but not released them. But shall we discuss
contentious point?
Very contentious point. We'll discuss what we're going to be talking about today. So obviously we always pick something from the news, most relevant things in the week. I've picked two things: AgentSpace from Google, which I'll talk about, and the benefits of it, and then another breach by Oracle, as in like not by Oracle causing the breach, but Oracle got breached after the first cover-up, and then got breached again. So there's been a second cover-up, and then a miscellaneous thing, which we'll do at the very end. What are your two things?
So I'm going to dig into OpenAI's new AI models, but a little bit on the marketing about what they've said are the major new capabilities of their models. And also the Clean Cloud Act, a bill going through the Senate in the US.
Oh, very good. And how have you been? You've been cursoring, AIing, getting the AIs to write all your stuff for you yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on that constant battle. Although I handed it or shared the little battle with the crazy machines with my son at the weekend. It was Easter, and normally I'd want to be on my one wheel or cycling or snowboarding or doing something, but we stayed in.
Oh wow!
We did some vibe coding with Google's Firebase Studio, and
that's pretty cool. Did he enjoy it?
He enjoyed the outcome more than the thing.
So that's a no. I'm guessing that's a no.
Yeah, it was excited at the end of the curb and at the beginning of the curve. But at the middle, like the bits where it doesn't work, we've got to upgrade it. Now we've got to come up with a really clear and concise set of instructions as kind of a plan, rather than just a big wobbly one paragraph sort of big contradictory sort of spiel. You got to turn it into something half decent.
So
we got it working.
Meanwhile, of his friends were outside saying, "Charlie, are you coming out?" And you're like, "Look, Charlie, join the blinds. You know, you need to. We're not going anywhere until this code is finished, and we've shipped a release. Like this is so cool. World.
You're so all right. What did you get up to this weekend?"
Yeah. Well, I one-wheeled. I went out. I did some snowboarding. So no. What did I get up to? I went to Brighton. Saw some friends, which was cool because it changed a bit. Like got like a pool on the beach now, an open air pool on the beach, and a sauna, and what do you call it? Volleyball courts, all kind of near each other. So you can basically go in the sauna, and people are running into the sea, and then obviously people are then going off for a proper swim, but not in the sea, then swimming into the pool. So it's really, it's very warm. So I've kind of found my love again for Brighton because I used to live there years ago. So it was like I was a bit like, actually, it's such a cool place.
I think being by the seaside is a thing. Brighton is one of them.
Exactly, nice. But you can't swim in it because it's too polluted. Hence, maybe and then just did caught with some other friends, chilled out a bit, and so kind of had a bit of a mixed bag as well. But talking about the news, talking about cloud, talking about AI and how it's going to take over the world. I don't know how much you know about this, but there's AgentSpace. So, and it isn't space. So don't be too disappointed. There's nothing to do with actual space. So it's really...
Is it worth continuing then? Is it?
I'm not really sure if it is really worth continuing.
Is it about spies? Spies in space?
It's about female celebrities going on a Blue Origin trip for humanity, and really.
I heard there is someone called Kate. Is it Kate Perry?
Katy Perry.
Is it Kate Perry? Katy Perry. I've heard that this person exists.
And that's really what this is about. So Google have come out with a new service that helps you be Katy Perry. So yeah, no. So they've come out with this new service-ish where it's basically agent to agent, so you can kind of create agents and kind of chain them together. But it's a kind of multimodal supported thing. It also has integrations into lots of other services like ServiceNow and Jira, Google Drive. And actually what you can do is you can start to plug it in. At the minimum, probably plug it into things that you've got in your business. So if you already use Google, then that's great because obviously you'll have all your assets there. A lot of companies like us obviously use Confluence and Jira, so that's quite good. So it has like native support for a bunch of like default tools. And then you can just start to have conversations with it and be like,
Jon, just to interject a second, is that why we've got 50,000 new Jira tickets?
That was me, yeah. So what I needed access to AgentSpace first. So I had to get it to raise the tickets for it to work because I couldn't get it to work. It's a bit wild. So the pricing, they do like a free one where they give you like 50,000, I think 50,000 licenses as part of like the free offering for like 14 days. So I was kind of playing around with that. But then the pricing is like quite a lot. I think it was something like $135 a month just for 15 licenses. So, which I think is very steep on top of, say, if you're already using Workspace and you've got like Google and you're, using Drive and Gmail and other things, that's already got a user price on it. So then to spend £135 for 15, which I think is even more than your license for Gmail and Drive itself, seems a bit disproportionate for a pricing model to make your life a bit easier. Don't know.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. It seems so. Is AgentSpace by Google?
Yes, it's a service in Google Cloud, and you basically can you enable it. It's a Google Cloud service, and then you permission it into the files and things like that.
I see. So instead of having to rely on the Gemini button that's everywhere in Google these days to do a point thing on a point bit of data in a very specific thing with hardly any tool use, and it's only just got access to do anything with sheets at all useful, and it's building. You, instead of going it from the tool out, they've aggregate data and have a flow that moves across your data sets.
Yeah, I think it was part of their conference as well. They did a talk, they did an announcement for it.
Google seems to be making about 100 announcents per second.
No, I think their conference. I think they had a conference.
That'll be why.
So they'll have all the things from like the keynotes and things like that. But yeah, so I think they in one of their I guess live demos, they talk about AgentSpace, and then I think they use it as a bank. And I can't remember really what the talk was about, so I'm kind of plagiarizing badly, but they were like role playing around if you're a certain person in a bank and you want to kind of get access to certain details and then produce a report and then schedule that into an email. So essentially it can even integrate into your calendar, add the people into the calendar, send the meeting, send the email invite, and all these other things. So it goes beyond just facilitation on some information. It's actually a workflow of working. I think what they're looking at.
Organize this podcast.
It's organized this podcast, yeah.
Which is why we were, wasn't it?
Which is why this is our 5th attempt today at trying to do it. It's still got teething problems.
So created loads of Jira tickets to create a podcast. That's what it did.
That's what it did.
But did you get any success out of it? Was it?
So all I will say is I haven't actually managed to use it because Google Cloud in its phenomenal fashion, it needed certain permissions. Obviously, with a service account, needed certain permissions for me. You get a URL essentially that's then obviously the portal of the agent. I guess the LLM chat window for the inputs. The context of the inputs. But when I went to do that, it couldn't validate me as a user for some reason. Didn't have some permissions somewhere to obviously be able to tell whether I am a user. So it needed those permissions. Discovery permissions is what it kind of needed. So I kind of didn't take me too long, but I hit a few roadblocks on like actually what it really needs to work from a permissions perspective. So and then obviously I had other things to do and had some meetings, so I didn't manage to progress. But do you think you'd use it? If I had it going, would you use it?
So I guess in my wheelhouse in development, I would want to plug it very specifically into very specific APIs or tools rather than general data. The workspace stuff. Jira, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'd need to.
Yeah, so less on the dev side because you've got other tools for that, and less on the engineering side. But on the business side, probably more on the business tooling.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I thought. I mean, being more on the business side nowadays, then I could see how you could, from our side, either have contractual elements, you could have statements of work, and what you could do is you could then be like, right, take this outcome, take this interview, on the drive, which is like typed up of the customer success of our engagement, tally the statement of work as in what we were trying to solve, what the commitment was within the outcome, and then produce me a case study, based on that thing, the end to end, of what we said we're coming to.
Specific marketing outcomes and like bits of the process, you can break down each bit and do it. So when you've got messy text and no code, like software 2.0 AI space seems perfect.
Yeah, or like doing working out if you've got things in Confluence, are they out of date, maybe with other things that you're kind of saying in statements of work. I can imagine actually from a, I know I'm like riffing on ideas, but even from like an administrative perspective, when it comes to content, it's got a tendency to be out of date or to have many versions of that thing, right? So I can imagine actually as a tool to be like, can you find all the different variant versions of this kind of context window? And actually, can you find me the most recent? And then can you delete all the other old ones? Because actually it's confusing. So I can imagine actually doing administrative tasks to keep your actual data integrity higher because you don't have a sprawl of things through time would be very useful as like a tool and an assistant to like give you only the relevant information.
It seems to overlap a lot. And I think it's probably because of Google's naming conventions. I put conventions in some air quotes because they some of the news I've heard about their agent-to-agent protocol, their agent development kit, and their Vertex product and Firebase, they all seem to be coming out at the same time, and there's lots of agentic flows and discussions about the agent development kit. So I imagine maybe some of these products have come out as use cases of some of these things and become services in their own right. I don't know.
No, you're spot on. I think that's exactly what's happened. I think AgentSpace, you can create your own agent even in it, and it's a low code or no code experience to create even an agent. So, and obviously, it's got
you can kind of flow chart the business process.
I mean, obviously, I can't get it to work, so I have no idea really what it really does. All I have to rely on is, we will get to it. So, next episode, I will have actually had the time to have properly used it. I haven't really had the time to explore, but from what I've seen, you can create your own agent. Does a workflow? You're right. It's obviously I don't know exactly how it necessarily does it. So you can plug in your own agent space. Hence why I imagine the agent to agent, because that's really essentially what it is about. It is about agent to agent and the pass-through of information and leveraging, multi-contextual tooling. So yeah, I think that's really where it's going. So, but yeah. Anyway, I've dominated a little bit on that one thing. What's your news? What's got your interest this week?
So I don't know. It's another thing AI wise. It's OpenAI's new AI models. I think there was an article in The Verge talking about their models, their O3 and O4. was it O3 Mini? I have to look it up every time, and I get totally confused. And I think that seems to be a lot of the discussion that's come out. So The Verge came out with an article saying their O3 model can use images when reasoning. So it's kind of multimodal, but they were specifically reporting on, or an OpenAI have specifically said that during its thinking phase, when you have chain of thought reasoning and AIs can show you what they're thinking about.
Right.
OpenAI have said their O3 model can use images when doing that reasoning. Now that just seems like another way of stating multimodality in their models. I can't actually see that. I think there's a marketing polish on top of it, because I was trying to like get the concrete statement. They did make a couple of statements specifically saying where we can think with images, and that, you know, if you have a chart of the differences between the models, one of the things is, you know, these new models can do certain thinking while they're doing reasoning with images. But you look at all of the information from DeepMind and all the Gemini models from Google, all boast about how they do deep reasoning and are multimodal, so have the context of images whilst they're reasoning. So it's like, is this marketing spin? Because obviously we can't look inside these closed source models and see whether they've got a mixture of experts, and part of it is generative for images and part of it is tokens for image pixels, or what. You don't get to find out. So all we've got to go on is the marketing thing. So I think actually my summary of all that is OpenAI, and actually all of them, the model naming just drives me mad, because I can't remember which one I'm talking about or which one they're talking about. And then some of the marketing spin, they're trying to differentiate what the latest thing in their model, and it's very thin and small. So
if I was
a bit of a ramble.
Yeah, if I was being a guessing person, I would have assumed that if Google were making loads of announcements from a conference, that you might also want to be PRing your own stuff in the meantime, as to take the attention away. Even if there wasn't really anything too much to really say. But I'm kind of guessing. I mean, that's just my cynicism. Maybe that's not.
Yeah, no, I think I've got a joint bit of cynicism on this, and I worry a little bit that the very specific, when you look at the feature chart on the OpenAI website about all the new models, and they've all been updated to have access to tools, but some of them the memory, and some of them other tools, and some of them context, and some of them image reasoning, and some of them not. It's all lots of words, and there's not a clear distinction about which ones will actually give you a benefit when you're using them. You know, deep thinking and doing agentic flows for carrying out deep research, that seems like a clear thing, which is distinct from one model or the other. But they're all based on a whole bunch of where they place the training, so that they're better at using tools, better at knowing about tools, better at knowing about multimodalities. But it almost seems like the AIs at this point are writing their own marketing blurb in agent.
Did you? This is a little bit like not on our planting, but did you see the era of experience? The white paper, the research paper that came out by, I need to have a little look, by Google. It was by David Silver. He's like a Google researcher, and then the computer scientist Richard Sutton. But talking about where they're basically trained from their environment. So essentially, they start to become more environmentally aware, I suppose you could say, and actually start to train themselves rather than having human data or like inputted data to train them, human-driven data, which is very complicated and hard to come by. It can, train itself.
I was actually watching a lecture with what's it, Demis Habilis, the DeepMind CEO. from Google.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about having reinforced learning is the thing, and when you've got humans in the loop doing the training and the feedback and the whole internet, it's really muddied and not that clearly good. But as soon as you get a feedback loop where they can learn on themselves, then if you can just work out how to give it clear signals about good, if you can measure that, and so the problem becomes a data science problem and not an AI problem. But if you can do that, then your AI will learn very, very quickly. So synthetic data and real reinforcement learning seem to be the paradigms that will give us
which is
benefit.
really interesting, like learning from their environment and taking existing information it's kind of gathering over time and then using that to actually train itself on real niched in, I guess, specifics like healthcare, where you've got so it does kind of make a lot of sense. That will be
when you move away from foundational models that are large language model based mainly, and moved towards deep learning systems, the neural net deep learning systems that have been trained on very specific tasks, then those become very much more capable when they're trained on reinforcement learning. But I think it's coming full circle, and actually the LLMs now need to, they're making large language models, and the DeepSeek stuff from China sort of broke the thing apart and said actually they need to learn on their own and be taught by other AIs. But
artificial general intelligence, as they
it's on the way.
AGI, that was a bit tangential. So my thing, we're trying to do these every week, and we'd like to try to get it down to 30 minutes just to give everyone the top news, but it needs to be very, very strict. Was the Oracle breach. I know you and I spoke about it before, but for other people, basically they denied having a breach. Said no, it's nonsense. No one's breached Oracle. Then I think the hackers put something up on their website, or put some files somewhere, or did something on the server that they actually breached to prove that they actually had breached it. I think then there was another breach on a system that was like really old, and then they admitted, yes, actually, but it was a very old thing, not to do with our cloud, even though it kind of was their cloud, but some old part of their cloud with some unpatched servers that were running some like old software, middleware software, and then said that, but it wasn't recent. And so it's not the data. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not recent. It's not recent data. It's really old server, even though the data in it was from 2024 and had passwords from 2024. But that aside, it's old. So anyway, so that's kind of happened. So they got hacked.
So they dealt with the news, and it was fine.
They dealt with the news. It's not really got much airtime. This is what I find strange, given the fact that I kind of feel like if that had happened to Microsoft or Amazon, whether it was an old server or not, or some old like middleware service or not, I really feel they would have been given a much harder time in the media. Whereas for some reason, I don't know why, but it's not made much news.
You saying there's a second?
I think they leveraged the same breach. I think it was the same backdoor or way in through some like Java web kind of front end, something that probably didn't get patched, a middleware exploit, I think, on some Java app. But anyway, that's mine. Over to you.
You were saying, I don't know. I heard, I think I did hear about this. I mean, we discussed it a few days ago, and I think we might have discussed it last week actually, in one of the attempted podcasts that one of the AIs organised for us. But there was a specific hacker that who actually tried to sell zero-day exploits.
On
the back of this,
tried to extort them. Tried to get 20 million.
They tried to extort Oracle, and they're trying a few different things. And then Oracle totally shut it down and said it's an old system. And then they started leaking data.
That's correct.
And then some other customers came forward and said, actually, that looks legitimate data. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean,
but yeah, that's it.
I think my take on it is, like security is always hard, and yes, all the news should be massive when it's a big vendor.
Yeah, I mean, when
I
you're
would,
providing services around those things that you're just, I'm not, we've only got. I need to go to your Clean Act because I want to know what that's about. So, but just to wrap up, if you're trusting a service provider to provide a service of which those services are cloud security, and you get hacked, there is a sense of irony behind the fact that you're professing to do cloud security well, but you're not patching your own stuff. So,
absolutely.
There's a bit of a
Bad
strange.
smell.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well, right, for the external PR view of your organization. But
do you think the reason we don't hear about it from the bigger vendors is that they have got their act in order? I seem to remember a long time ago thinking, the surface area of security in an organization is crazily hard to keep on top of, and the possibilities of like random security vulnerabilities being present in production systems is pretty high. But if you use the best that cloud has to offer, then you're probably going to be maybe a little bit lower than a ragbag sort of data center. I don't know. There's ways of looking at lenses, and
maybe we can keep track and talk about those types of security patterns in the cloud and what you need to do. And the shared responsibility model between the customer and the cloud is obviously a bit of a bizarre spectrum. It depends on what it is, what you're using, how SaaS, how PaaS, how IaaS. It's such a broad area. So yeah, it's a challenge itself. But anyway, the Clean Cloud Act.
Okay, we can put the security down because it's all fine. There is nothing to worry.
It is all fine.
So another thing that's all fine. So there's a bill going through, being proposed at the Senate in the US, Clean Cloud Act of 2025 by US Senators Whitehouse and Fetterman. Now, it's very early bill. So, when digging it up as a news source, it actually seems like, when it's reported out from multiple angles, it's like, okay, it should be big news. 4% of all US power goes to data centers, apparently. So, there's probably marching error bars, and that's probably the upper bar of the error bar. But within 1% or so, that's a big number, and it's projected to get to 12% in the next by 2028. So this is only 3 years away.
But this is on the assumption that they're sharing, obviously, the energy, suppliers, and they're not going to go and build their own renewable energy or something of their own that they own their own data centers and don't rely on the grid at all.
Well, I don't know. The bill specifically talks about crypto as well as AI.
Right.
So it's brought forward by Democrats, and obviously the current powers that be may not think favourably to progressive measures in this space, but I think it is. There's been a lot of news when OpenAI and all the big tech firms, including Oracle, actually, and Microsoft, all got behind the Trump administration with what was it, Project Stargate, I think it is, to make the biggest AI data centers the world has ever seen. It's going to be the best AI. It's going to be anyway.
It's going to be the best. The greatest.
The greatest data center the world has ever seen. And they're all, announcing, or they were all announcing use of nuclear, use of coal, like some, bits of gas, and let's just burn, baby, burn. And it seems like this little whisper on the side of a bit of sanity to say, actually, we should use this as an opportunity to build green, to have on-site. I mean, organizations that make energy as well as maybe cars have like dominated in this space and stand to clean up. Yet, you know, the use of AI and the use of dirty energy in being the first mover with the biggest data centers is a contradiction, and it is
I
a
was under the impression though
worry.
they were investigating nuclear, as in like, was it Google was investigating nuclear plants for their data centers, as in like basically standing up their own nuclear plant for energy, which
And Microsoft had an announcement that they were buying Long Island or
iced teas.
Mile Long Island. No.
Long Island iced teas
What's it called?
for all their staff. Yeah, Long Island iced teas for everyone.
Oh God, it's not
Yeah.
Long. And yet, well, we know of a place called. No, what's the nuclear facility in the States that had an accident? Anyway, there's a legacy nuclear that they were going to buy and refurb or own and bring on.
Because I think you're not subject to the same scrutiny when it's privately done, and you could do it for your own private energy consumption. I think it's slightly different. For some reason, that's why they've been able to get it passed through legislation quicker, because it's not it's a company deciding, not a state deciding. So yeah.
I think the
but what is the act?
Whimper,
Sorry, but what is
the act is the whimper. The act is to bring in to ensure that emissions are 100% generated renewably by 2035 by amending the Clean Air Act specifically to make sure that data centers specifically have to be green, which kind of makes sense if you're going to crypto is probably where the bill was born, and it's probably been bumbling along for a decade or so, and now crypto is not the thing that we're all worried about, although it is a thing and it does use a hell of a lot of energy.
Yeah,
it is a concern. And if it was all green energy, then it would be like, okay, as long as it's not taking all the capacity away from all the other uses of energy, then yeah, fair enough. Or if it was local to the compute, then that's good. But with AI, it's just accelerating the demand, and anything that could be actually strongly put forward and adhered to would be good. And I would say, companies, organizations, and governments that get behind this stand to win, because guess what? Things that aren't renewable run out. So you could decide to be ahead and use this as a lever. When the Second World War broke out, we didn't say, oh well, haven't got enough factories, we're going to lose the war. No, we built factories and we got extra workforce, and all the women went to work, and we made all the weapons, and we won the war. It's like an urgency thing. I think my news article, really, the summary is it's a little bill, it's a little whimper, and it's by the wrong side of the majority in the state, so it will probably go completely unnoticed. But it is probably I find it an interesting and important.
Yeah, it's an important aspect, isn't it? Really, but cool. Yeah. So we don't really have time to discuss, because we did say we're going to keep it to 30 minutes. So we're trying our best. So I guess we'll just have to leave the old the AI hub in Saudi Arabia, and how you can basically put things in their data center, but under your own jurisdiction, apparently, under your own laws, even though it's technically kind of there.
And they'd have no backdoor to that. No sovereignty at all on their own land for those purposes.
Exactly. A bit like storage unit facilities. You're just using them to store your stuff, but only you've got access. I think that's the view, in like it's yours and it's under your jurisdiction. That's how the world works.
We're not cynical on Cloud Unplugged, though. It's all
not cynical on Cloud Unplugged. Get your data into Saudi Arabia. Get it over there. Don't worry about it. Just set up your own laws. It'll be fine. Tell them these are our laws. This is what we're governed by. And ship your data over there, and it'll be fine. Don't worry. Anyway, that was a good episode. A few things to pull upon. Hopefully, next one I will have more information about the agent space, where I've actually managed to get it to work, and keep you posted.
Keep on it.
And we shall see you next week. Adios.
Adios, indeed.